rapidly approaching Obama's 100th day in office. Most of the mainstream media is still beaming with pride over their chosen messiah and the wonderful job he's doing leading us down the path of debt and socialism. Joining us today is Jeff Kuhner with his report on Obama's first 100 days.
Michael, we are now here in Washington, in the belly of the beast, and we are now approaching Obama's 100 days. The report cards are out. Media outlets are now flooding with newspaper copy proclaiming Barack Obama as the second coming of FDR, as the greatest president since Franklin Roosevelt, if not Abraham Lincoln. And I have to say, Michael, on one level, I have to agree with the liberal mainstream media. I do believe that Barack Hussein Obama is the most consequential president in our lifetime. And the reason why I say this is as I stand here in Washington, D.C., from the Washington Times, observing this man and his leftist revolutionaries in Congress, I have seen nothing but victory after victory after victory for the forces of socialism. After 100 days, look at what he has accomplished. He has rammed through a nearly $1 trillion stimulus bill. He has put forth a $410 billion massive spending program. Public works projects, construction jobs, payoffs to Hispanics, African Americans, labor unions, environmentalists. Every major Democratic constituency has been bought off by the Obama administration. He is now proposing a $3.6 trillion budget. By his own figures, we will be running a $1.8 trillion budget deficit this year. Over the next 10 years, we will have amassed over $9.3 trillion in debt. That is more debt, Michael, than all of the 43 presidents previous to Obama combined. He is burying this country in a mountain of debt. We are now seeing levels of spending that our founding fathers would find incredible and utterly repugnant. He is now promised to ram through nationalized health care by the end of this year. He has promised to grant amnesty to 20 million illegal immigrants by the end of this year. He is proposing to revolutionize and transform our economy into a radical green environmental economy. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. And Michael, what I want to stress to you and to your listeners is this, and I cannot stress this point enough. I originally come from Canada, and I have to say this honestly and unequivocally. I love my homeland. I love Canada. It took in my grandfather and my father who fled communist persecution in Eastern Europe. It gave my parents a life that they could never have possibly had in Europe. But I saw firsthand the destruction of socialism in Canada. And what many Americans don't understand is that Barack Hussein Obama reminds me of one politician, a transformative politician who transformed Canada from a capitalist Christian country into a secular socialist country. And that person was Pierre Elliott Trudeau. He was Canada's most popular prime minister, the only prime minister truly known on the world stage. Throughout the 1970s, Michael, over 10 years, he literally destroyed Canadian capitalism and Canadian traditional morality. He brought about nationalized health care. He made huge advances in homosexual rights. He liberalized abortion laws and made it legal on demand. He brought about sweeping changes in the country, nationalizing key sectors of the Canadian economy. He changed Canadian foreign policy. Many Americans don't know this, but Canada was actually one of the most hawkish countries in the world in World War I and World War II. While Americans were still debating whether to enter both world wars, Canada went in the day England was attacked. He transformed Canada into a neutral Scandinavian-style country in which Canadian foreign policy became subservient to the United Nations. Trudeau began cozying up with Fidel Castro, with Latin American dictators, and with the butchers in the Soviet Union. just as Barack Hussein Obama is doing today with Castro, with Hugo Chavez, with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the Nazi in Iran. And after everything was said and done, Michael, and this is the point I really want to stress, it is the mother of all points. In fact, this is the most important point I have ever made on the savage nation. Once Canada lost its liberties under Pierre Trudeau and the Trudeau Revolution, they never got them back. Once you cross into socialism, once you transform your democracy, once the Canadian people were no longer free men and women and citizens, but subjects, where now every aspect of their life was controlled and dominated by the state, their health care, their pensions, their unemployment, the fruits of their labor, their taxes. Once that was taken away from them, their sphere in the family, their traditional morality, once all of that was stripped away from them, they have lost their freedom, Michael. And the reason why I came to America so many years ago was because I understood what I think Americans take for granted. This is now the last freest place on the earth. This is the only place left in the world where a man and a woman can stake their fortune, can stake their claim in the world, can live as free men and women, endowed by their Creator with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we are now going the way of the Roman Republic. We are going the way of Canada. We are going the way of Western Europe. Once free nations who understood the importance of limited government, of free markets, of individual rights, of our Judeo-Christian heritage, of everything that made us great and free and proud and strong. All of this is now being swept away like dust in the wind, as we have now been literally enchanted, mesmerized by this magician in the White House. Pierre Trudeau's revolution permanently transformed Canada into a European-style nanny state. This is what Barack Obama is doing now. His first 100 days are the 100 days of a massive socialist revolution. And we are now in the midst of that revolution. And it is now slowly convulsing and transforming every aspect of American society. And what I am here to tell all Americans, because I have seen the fruits of that revolution. I saw it with my ancestors and my grandparents in the former communist bloc. I saw it in Canada. I lived it as I grew up. I have seen the future, and it does not work. You want anemic economic growth. You want high unemployment. You want a society in which marriage is denigrated and destroyed. You want a society in which unborn children are slaughtered. You want a society that literally is so morally permissive and so morally bankrupt that it cannot distinguish dictatorships from democracies, enemies from friends, that champions the ideology of appeasement and surrender. Then you have to go just north of the border and you can see the future. And the best and the brightest of Canada, Michael, have been fleeing that country for the last 15 years, and America has been the beneficiary. But now we are seeing America replicate the very same mistakes that have destroyed republics and democracies before it. And this is why, Michael, I am telling the American public, and I am urging your listeners, do not abandon your liberties. Do not abandon your freedoms. Do not abandon your Constitution, which was the greatest document in the history of the world. History and future generations will never forgive you. I'm Jeff Cooner, the last honest man in Washington. Back to you, Michael.
I'm Michael Savage. We'll be right back.
Savage.